Jake Sizemore, a rising
The
senior
Fairfax
at
County
Lake
Democratic
Braddock
Committee,
Secondary
commonly
School,
called
is a
FCDC, is the official arm of the
multi-instrumentalist who
Democratic.
plays and sings as a solo artist and is the guitarist and
This is a test. Sorry for some technical difficulties. Welcome, everyone, to the first Fairfax Democrats Webathon. My name is Brian Graham, and I'm the chair of the Fairfax County Democratic Committee. At the outset, let me first say that I hope that you and those close to you are safe as we continue to live under the cloud of this health crisis. We have a great event planned with a dozen engaging performances by talented area artists, plus live Q&As and discussions with elected officials and progressive leaders and experts. But first, a bit more on the organization that is asking for your support today.
Jake Sizemore, a rising senior
The Fairfax
at Lake
County
Braddock
Democratic
Secondary
Committee,
School,
commonly called
is a
FCDC, is the
multi-instrumentalist
official arm
who
of the
plays
Democratic
and
Party in
sings as a
Fairfax
solo
County.
artist and is the Jake Sizemore. Jake
The Fairfax County Democratic Committee, commonly called FCDC, is the official arm of the Democratic Party in Fairfax County. Fairfax County is larger than 8 states by population, is the most populous jurisdiction in the Washington, D.C. metro area, and provides about 1 in 5 Democratic votes in Virginia statewide elections. It is our purpose to work to elect Democrats to office from local to federal elections, register voters and encourage participation in the democratic process, promote democratic values, and organize here in Fairfax County for continued success. In 2020, that means electing Joe Biden president and re-electing Mark Warner, Congresswoman Wexton, and Congressman Connolly and Beyer. How can you help? Our organization is powered by volunteers who perform the core voter registration, outreach, precinct operations, and election day activities of our committee, as well as the operational, from technology and communications, event organization and fundraising, to the operations of our office. We are continually looking for people like you to volunteer. Sign up at fairfaxdems.org/volunteer. But also, we would honor your financial support. Most of the things we do have some cost. Sending text messages and mailings, printing sample ballots, renting our headquarters office. We understand not everyone is able to offer financial support at this time, but if you are able, please visit fairfaxdems.org/give or call us at 703-573-6811. While you're there, check out the Democratic-themed cloth face masks we're offering for donations. And we'd also ask that you consider supporting us by a monthly or annual commitment through our Sustainers program. FCDC Sustainers are the backbone of our organization by providing regular support of our operations. You can join as an FCDC Sustainer for as little as $10 a month. Your support, either volunteer or financial, will swell the blue wave onto victory here in Fairfax, Virginia, and beyond this year. In the past, the vast majority of our fundraising came from in-person events. Under the current circumstances, it would be ineffective but also irresponsible to hold similar events. But as with many things, there is a silver lining, an opportunity to try new ideas. And we are excited to provide this wide array of activities this evening to engage, entertain, and inform. A dozen artists will perform songs, instrumentals, and dramatic pieces. A wonderful book reading will air at about 6:15 p.m. for our youngest Democrats, the preschool crowd. We'll have live chats with Congressman Connolly and Beyer and with Eileen Fillercorn, the first woman ever elected Speaker of the Virginia House of Delegates in its 400-plus year history. We'll have live discussions on healthcare, on the labor and employment outlook, and with the author of an important new book, Reclaiming Patriotism, by a scholar regarded as one of America's top 100 living intellectuals, Dr. Amitai Etzioni. Check out the details of our Webathon on our website, on Facebook and YouTube, and also for our live events or our live sections of our event, you can submit questions in the chat features of those sites. And before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the people that made this event happen. Ray Marin and Tina Barczyk for coordinating this event, Mary Yee for getting much of the talent to volunteer and record videos, Sarah Fors for recording performance introductions, Kelsey Woody for video editing, and Nadia Golding and her team for being ready to answer your phone calls. Jack Raleigh, our executive director, who supports this and many other things. And my thanks to the performers and our guests for their gracious support with their talent. And now, a message from the senior U.S. Senator from the Commonwealth of Virginia, Mark Warner.
Hello, Fairfax County Democrats. Senator Mark Warner here. I know these are challenging times, but I also know we can always count on Fairfax County Democrats. So I hope you'll continue to help FCDC through this challenging election season. I know each year we say this is the most important year, but this year it really is. And not just because I'm on the ballot, but because we have to get rid of Donald Trump and re-elect Don Beyer, Jerry Conley, and Jennifer Wexton. A lot of work to do, and I'll be seeing you on the campaign trail.
Thank you, Senator Warner. The senator is right. This election is critically important. But before I end up asking for your support again, I'll pass the Webathon to fellow FCDC member Sarah Fors to introduce our first performances.
Hello, viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in to our first FCDC Webathon. I'm Sarah Fors. I'm a member of FCDC, and I'm honored to be your master of ceremonies for the artistic performances that are a big part of this evening's program. We have an awesome array of talent in store for you. Many artists from around the region with deep ties to Fairfax County have recorded performances especially for this evening's event. We are deeply grateful to them all for sharing their time and their talents with us. They share the democratic values that our party represents. All are performing pro bono because they are just as eager as we are to see goodness and good government return to Washington in November. And they know that one of the best ways to achieve that is by helping FCDC do what it does best, getting Democratic candidates elected. This evening we'll hear some opera, some piano, some show tunes, some dramatic readings. We even have something very special for the kids. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the fine performances by our distinguished artists. Carrie Ginsberg and James Finley are a DC, Maryland, Virginia theater power couple who, when not performing, can be found hanging out with their rescue dogs and running amok in the suburbs. Carrie and James are one of two husband and wife teams who are entertaining us today. Residents of Alexandria, they will be performing a song from a hit 2008 Broadway musical that is based on a hit 1980 movie. Can you guess which one? Here's a hint. When campaigning to become president, Elizabeth Warren walked out onto the stage to this song.
Hi, I'm Carrie.
And I'm James.
Thank you so much for allowing us to share our talents with you to support the Fairfax County Democratic Committee. This is 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. Tumble out of bed and I stumble in the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition. I yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. Out on the street the traffic starts jumping with folks like me on a job from 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living. Barely getting by. It's all taken and no giving. They just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5 for service and devotion. You would think that I would deserve a fat promotion. Want to move ahead, but the boss won't seem to let me. I swear sometimes that net is out to get me. Ooh, ooh. They let you dream just to watch them shatter. You're just a step on the boss man's ladder, but you've got dreams he'll never take away. You're in the same boat with a lot of your friends. waiting for the day your ship will come in. The tide's gonna turn and it's all gonna roll away. Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taken and no giving. They just use your mind and you never get the credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let 9 to 5. Yeah, they got you where they want you. There's a better life and you dream about it, don't you? It's a rich man's game, no matter what they call it. And you spend your life putting money in his wallet. 9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taken and no giving. They just use your mind and you never get the credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5. Ooh. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, okay. Wow, that was amazing. Many thanks to Carrie and James for that performance. We are honored to have so many talented artists who are willing to support us today, and we'd be honored to have your financial support as well. All of that, everything that we want to do this year comes at a cost, and we're going to have to work harder than ever to make sure that every vote counts. Go to fairfaxdems.org/give or call us at 703-573-6811 to make a contribution and ensure that every vote counts. And now I am pleased to introduce fellow FCDC member and SEIU Virginia 512 President David Broder. SEIU 512 is the Virginia branch of the Service Employees International Union for local public employees, nurses, librarians, social workers, child educators, as well as home care workers with more than 4,000 members. Amid the COVID pandemic, we rightfully acknowledge that David's constituents are everyday heroes. David comes from a long family tradition of unions. His grandparents were union members. His mom was an elementary school arts teacher and was a rank and file member and leader. David has been a great friend to our candidates and to FCDC. David, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Brian, I'm honored to be here. SEIU members have always valued our partnership with FCDC and our shared values of fighting for a better future for all working people. I'm only sorry I didn't know you were wearing a tux. I would have worn my purple one.
That would have been great. Yeah, I didn't tell everyone I was wearing a tux today. You have a little bit of news on the SEIU front from, I guess, who they're endorsing for president. Can you elaborate?
We're very excited that just an hour ago, SEIU members formally endorsed Joe Biden as the next president of the United States, and are incredibly excited to be investing our blood, sweat, and tears to be out in the community, registering voters, mobilizing voters, particularly focusing on young voters in communities of color, making sure that every single Virginian, that everyone across the country can get to the polls, and that we can have a president who will fight for working people, not fight against working people.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. Let's go back to talk about some of the historic progress we made this year in Virginia. There's been a lot of excitement about that. What's been most exciting, and what are you looking for us to do next?
Yeah, the wins that we had this year have been a long time coming. You talked about our members at the top of this, and thank you so much. The victories that we had are really the result of home care workers and social workers, nurses, firefighters, teachers, knocking on doors, talking with candidates year after year. And it's hard for maybe new members to remember, it used to be pretty bleak to be fighting for progressive Democrats. And it is fantastic to see now our friends and allies and champions in power. I think there are so many things that I'm incredibly proud of that passed this year, from voting rights to racial justice victories. And on the labor front, the $15 minimum wage the PLAs and other reforms that will make sure that our workers on public construction projects are safe, have a living wage, and can bring projects in on time and under budget. And of course, collective bargaining rights, because this pandemic, if it has taught us anything, has taught us that it is so critical to have a voice on the job. And it's so important that Virginia joins 47 other states in throwing off old anti-worker oppressive laws and ensuring that there's real workplace democracy around the Commonwealth.
Great. I mean, we already talked about this a little bit. Can we talk a little bit more about about how important this election is this November for the welfare of working Americans?
Yeah, I know we say it every year, Brian, but it's never been more true that this is the most important election of our lifetime. We talk at the union about right now we are experiencing 3 pandemics. We're experiencing the pandemic of coronavirus. We're experiencing the pandemic of anti-Black racism. And we're also experiencing the pandemic that is Donald Trump. We have a president in the White House right now who is fighting working people every day, who will throw frontline healthcare workers under the bus, who will throw teachers and kids and the safety of our parents and grandparents under the bus if he thinks it will get him reelected. I don't have the words to describe how disgusting that is. And there might be some kids watching, and my kids are in the next room, so I won't share my real feelings about that. But to say it is time that we have a president who is going to fight with working people and every level of government, that we need a president, that we need a Congress, that we need local elected officials who will fight for working people. And it's so critical that we get out and vote this November 3rd and every election. And we're honored to stand with FCDC tonight. I hope that all my labor sisters and brothers can reach into their pockets, can donate what they can, so that we can make sure that every single member of our community votes this year.
Oh, we definitely would appreciate that. I know that we have some really good local leaders now, thankfully, after the elections that we've had. So what do you see as the value of the FCDC and labor partnership in delivering victory in November this year?
Yeah, I think there's nothing we can't do when we work together. When Democrats stand with working people, when Democrats fight for working people, we have huge wins at the ballot box. We also have huge wins when it comes to governing. Again, think about all that Speaker Fillercorn and the General Assembly got done this year when they stood with working people. I think about the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors just becoming the leader in paid family leave, and Chairman McKay and the board passing 6 weeks of paid family leave and calling on the General Assembly to do the same, because right now we need to keep our families safe as we're serving the community on the job. So that's what's at stake. And I think that's why this election is so critical.
Okay. Well, great. I mean, certainly I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to sit with us and to ask for your support of FCDC. So thank you so much for joining us.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
And now I'm going to throw it back to Sarah Force, who will introduce our next performance.
Emily Morrison is an actress in the DC area and has appeared with Unexpected Stage, Cena Theater, and First Stage. She won a Best Actress Award for her portrayal of Dr. Vivian Baring in the Silver Spring stage production of Wit. She is the acting executive director and former board president of the Actors Center, and she's a Virginia native. The story you are about to see is all too familiar. A smart, strong, ambitious woman who is vying for a high-ranking political position is excoriated, maligned, and lied about by a body of male, mostly white politicians. Sound familiar? Emily's monologue, by a character in the movie played by Joan Allen, who received an Oscar nomination for the role, is as powerful and relevant now as when the movie was made 20 years ago.
Good evening, Fairfax County Democratic Committee. I'm very happy to be with you this evening and in support of your work. My name is Emily Morrison, and this evening I'm going to be performing a piece from a film called The Contender, written and directed by Rod Lurie and released in 2000. This is a film about a presidential pick for vice president on the death of the sitting vice president, and how she has been greatly maligned by the Judiciary Committee. This speech towards the end of the film is where my character, the VP pick, is speaking directly to the chairman of the committee for the machinations that he has wrought. So let's get started. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the committee, remarkably, it seems that I have some explaining to do, so let me be perfectly clear. I stand for a woman's right to choose. I stand for the abolishment of the death penalty. I stand for a strong military because we must stomp out genocide on this planet, and I believe that that is a cause worth dying for. I stand for every gun taken out of every home, period. I stand for making the sale of cigarettes to minors a federal offense. I stand for campaign reform and term limits. And, Mr. Chairman, I stand for the separation of church and state. And the reason I stand for that is the reason that I believe our forefathers did. It is not there to protect religion from the grasp of government, but to protect the government from the grasp of religious fanaticism. Now, I may be an atheist, but that does not mean that I do not go to church. I do go to church. The church that I go to is the one who emancipated the slaves, who gave women the right to vote, and all the other freedoms that we hold dear. My church is the very chapel of democracy that we all sit in together, and I do not need God to tell me what my moral absolutes are. I need my heart, my head, and this church. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily, for your performance. I think Emily's that performance is particularly fitting as we head into our next guest, as she broke all kinds of barriers in the General Assembly this year. But before we get to that, I'd like to remind everyone watching that the Democratic vote margins here in Fairfax County deliver the statewide victories that we have in the Commonwealth. The swell of the blue wave starts with the deepening blue of Fairfax County, and we must continue to develop and build our community relationships to reinforce those gains, which will help us deliver Virginia in 2020 and beyond. If you'd like to help us make that happen, go now to fairfaxdems.org/give or call us at 703-573-6811. Our next guest is Speaker Eileen Fillercorn, the first woman in the 400-year history of Virginia's legislature to hold that position. And she rose to that role after representing the 41st House District for a decade, making her the fastest person to ascend to the post. And of course, she is one of FCDC's own. The 41st District includes parts of Fairfax, Fairfax Station, and West Springfield. Speaker Fillercorn's passion for service shines through her tireless work to make the Commonwealth of Virginia a better place to live, work, and raise a family. Her commitment to improving the lives of her neighbors is what drove her to run for the House of Delegates. She has spent her time in the legislature as a listener and problem solver, delivering results that move her community forward in advocating for everyone equally, regardless of background, circumstance, or ideology. She has introduced, championed, and passed legislation that has made Virginia a safer, stronger, and more equal Commonwealth. Last year, Speaker Fillercorn traveled to every corner of the Commonwealth, leading the effort to win a majority in the House of Delegates and promising swift, decisive action to improve the Commonwealth for all Virginians. Speaker Fillicorn knocked on doors, held rallies, and talked to voters of all backgrounds in order to support Democratic candidates at all levels of government. This hard work paid off. The 2019 elections brought historic progress to the General Assembly, with all Democratic incumbents in the House of Delegates winning, and with us gaining 6 new seats and coming into power for the first time in a generation. This year, Speaker Fillicorn led a historic session of the General Assembly, where the House of Delegates passed a record amount of groundbreaking progressive legislation, and I'm going to get into some of it here. It includes passing 7 of the governor's gun violence prevention bills, expanding voting rights, improving the lives of working families in the Commonwealth, passing the Virginia Clean Economy Act, making our criminal justice system fairer, passing the Virginia Values Act, and leading Virginia to becoming the 38th state to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. Outside of the General Assembly, Eileen serves as the chair of the Board for Jobs for Virginia Graduates. She is also a member of the Board of Directors for the American Jewish Committee, the Center for Public Policy Innovation, the Fairfax County Arts Council, and Jewish Foundation for Group Homes. Prior to her election to the House, she also served as in the administrations of Governors Mark Warner and Tim Kaine. The Speaker and her husband, Bob, live in Springfield and remain active members of the same community in which they raised their 2 children, Jeremy and Alana. Speaker Fillicorn, welcome.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here. And I have to comment, you look very, very sharp. You really dressed up for this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what else do you have to dress up for anymore? I had to pull out the dress clothes from the closet, right? At least me, I don't have to do it very much. Right. So I guess first, just how are you and your family doing with the coronavirus?
Good. We're hanging in there. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you for your leadership and for what you're doing, and everybody, and hoping that everybody is doing, okay. We're holding up, and I hope everyone who's listening and watching it's tough times, unprecedented, uncharted territory, and it's been a challenge for a while, and it will continue. So, we're doing okay, and I'm just trying to help as many people as possible, and serve as a resource, and hopefully have the ability to help more of our residents get through this. I'm thankful that we've got the only physician, the only governor, physician, doctor, Northam in the entire country, and he's working hard, diligently, has gotten a pretty impressive team managing this public health crisis, this economic crisis, and as we all work to strive to keep everyone safe and reopen the economy. So I actually recently had I think it was yesterday actually, a conversation with our Secretary of Finance, Aubrey Lane, and working with him and his team daily, as well as with the governor's office, the administration, and the rest of my members, just to make sure that Virginia can continue to manage the public health situation, and also focus on businesses reopening, and as well as our schools, obviously opening with the hope to a certain degree in the fall.
Right. Of course, that's been the topic of conversation recently, right?
Oh, I think so.
But I guess I want to go back to the list of key accomplishments I talked about from our session. What are you most proud of that we accomplished this past year or so far?
That is a tough question. It was definitely a historic session, and by so many different reasons. There's so much that we can be proud of, and I know so many people watching this, and all of you at FCDC were at the forefront of knocking on those doors and making those phone calls and attending events, and all because you understood that elections matter. Elections have consequences, and as a result of everyone's really hard work on the campaign trail, we fought to take back the majority, and we won. And and I said that as soon as we, on the campaign trail, as I was with many of you, I said that if you work hard and you do X, Y, and Z, I promise you we're going to bring decisive change to the Commonwealth. And because of your hard work and dedication, the new House majority delivered. And we were able to turn promises into laws. So I think we showed not just Fairfax County and not just the Commonwealth, but I think we showed the entire country that Democrats know how to govern, and Democrats get results. And that was clear. So you mentioned something that's near and dear to my heart, and I know a top priority of so many of you all is gun violence prevention. And the reason I'm dressed up today in a suit too is I just got back from Richmond because the governor had a ceremonial bill signing for seven of our gun violence prevention bills that passed. So, we made incredible progress on that front. Voting rights, another issue that's so important to all of us, and making voting easier. Environmental protection, anti-discrimination legislation, passing the Virginia Values Act. So excited and proud of that. Women's reproductive rights, criminal justice reform, which we will be addressing also in our special session, which I can mention as well, probably the middle to end of August, and so much more. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention making Virginia the 38th state to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment, finally enshrining women in the United States Constitution. So important. We were historic because we passed a record number of bills. We had a record number of bills signed into law. Many of which all were signed and took effect just last week on July 1. There's just so much. It's a tough question because there is so much, Brian, to be proud of. But I think I'd like to say that I'm most proud of how we governed and the magnitude of the laws that we passed. I often say so many of us in elected office are in this business because we want to affect change. We want to improve the lives of Virginians. And we did exactly that on so many different fronts, so many different issues.
You talked about decisive change, and of course we are kind of at a national movement of change with the Black Lives Matter movement. Do you stand with the Black Lives Matter movement?
Absolutely. Black lives matter. And, I think we are where we are today because of the murders that took place. There's no question that George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and so many more people of color should be alive today. And the racial inequities in our nation that led to their deaths should have been eliminated a long time ago. And we made progress in criminal justice reform this past session, but that was just the beginning. And, I stand with Virginians across our Commonwealth who are angry, who are frustrated, who are hurt, tired, and just yearning for change. And as Speaker of the House, I often say it's my job to listen, and I spend a lot of time listening. But I feel right now, yes, it's important to listen. We'll continue to listen, but we're trying to understand the pain that that's felt and experienced by people of color and African Americans. We can only experience that if you look like me so much. But more importantly, I feel it's my duty to act. And so about a month ago, I said that we would, in addition to our response for COVID-19, in addition to dealing with the biennial budget at the special session, I feel that it's our duty to act. And I have the responsibility and the ability to decide what we will cover, what we will handle, what we will look at and examine at the special session, and said that police reform and criminal justice reform will be on the agenda as well. We also I announced just, I think, 2 weeks ago that we're going to start holding hearings of a joint committee, and I'm combining the Courts of Justice and the Public Safety Committee, so we can swiftly address police reform, criminal justice reform in the upcoming session, special session later this summer. That enables us to do what we should be doing: listening, learning, hearing from everybody, stakeholders, organizations, individuals, groups. So we're going to do that. We're going to have 3 hearings in that joint committee. We're going to have 2 in July, 1 in August. That'll lay the groundwork so we can really discuss all these issues and then move forward towards a special session. And what we don't accomplish in the special session, because obviously we've also got our response to COVID-19, and we've got the biennial budget and all of our priorities that items had been unallotted when we hit pause on the budget. We have, they remain our priorities, and we're going to stand by them as well. So that which we don't accomplish in the special session, we will continue to research and vet and work on so that we can move seamlessly into the 2021 session.
Great. You talked about this a little bit on kind of the outside, and maybe I'm just going to ask more specifically about it. I know the Black Legislative Caucus has put together a set of initiatives for criminal justice reform for the special session. How much progress do you think we're going to make there?
How much progress will we make at the special session?
Yeah, well, I mean, are those any of those initiatives that we really kind of need to commit to doing, or
Yeah, there,
or the whole set?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot, and again, we got to jumpstart on it, this past session, but so much more. So what we're going to do, the three hearings that we're going to have, we're dividing up with based on issues, so or topic areas, so that we can have different issues addressed at all three different hearings. So, for instance, some of the issues that have come up: banning chokeholds, eliminating no-knock warrants, overall use of force, eliminating dealing with police accreditation and certification, making sure police officers with a history of abuse don't continue working, promoting civilian review boards. Those are just some of the issues that have come to the risen to the forefront, whether it's through virtual meetings and opportunities I've had speaking with different individuals and groups, or just through the regular committee process. So those are going to be some of the issues that will be discussed. There's many more, and yes, there's a lot of, good ideas from VLBC. And honestly, so many members of the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus have been at the forefront fighting for reform on criminal justice issues and policing for so long. And, I think that they'll definitely continue to be at the forefront. And I speak regularly with Chairman Bagby about these proposals so we can move forward and hear from the public too.
Great. Well, I don't want to take too much more time from you. Of course, we're here to generate support for FCDC, but I do want to thank you for everything that you've done for your leadership. It's been great. So I guess just one last question for you: how important has FCDC been to you and your career as a legislator?
That's a good question, because you all have been invaluable, and everybody on this call, on this virtual listening, has just been so instrumental crucial in moving the Commonwealth forward on so many fronts. So I think your results speak for themselves when you look at holding 9 out of 10 seats on the Board of Supervisors, and you look at holding all 12 seats on the school board, 26, I think there's 26 senators and delegates representing Fairfax in Richmond. And guess what? All 26 are Democrats. So there's a reason for that. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of hard work, and leadership on your part in FCDC. When you think about the absentee ballot program that sent out, I think, over 10,000 mailers last year alone, invaluable. Your precinct ops program that organizes, communities around our values, things that we, that are near and dear to our heart, so that we're prepared for every single election every year, invaluable again. And, so I appreciate all that you've done. Many of you were at the polling locations for me, driving voters to the polls and whatnot. When I won my House seat, we're out there in the storm in Snowmageddon, knocking on doors with the, when you couldn't even find the driveways, winning my election in 2010 by 37 votes. So, each one of your phone calls and every door that you knocked on got me to where I am. And everything that you do every single day makes a difference. You all get it. Elections matter. Elections have consequences. Candidates matter. And without your, commitment, dedication, friendship, I know I wouldn't be where I was to have this opportunity to change lives in such a way, and the historic responsibilities that I have. But more importantly, we wouldn't be able to accomplish what we have, what we do every day, and most recently this past session, without your hard work and efforts. And I know that's going to continue. So thank you, Brian, for your leadership, and for everyone watching.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you. And thank you so much for joining us, for your work and for your support. Our next performance is a children's story targeted towards our very, very young Democrats. And if it might not be for you as a viewer, but now might be a good time to take a break, stretch your legs, or give us a donation. But if you step away, be sure to come back by 6:30 so you can join us as Congressman Don Beyer joins us live. And back to Sarah for an introduction. Thanks.
Davin Ralston and Joe Carlson are married with 3 beautiful dogs and live in Baltimore, where they operate Charm City Books, an independent bookstore and community event space. Davin and Joe decided to take all their skills as actors, musicians, community organizers, and educators to fulfill a lifelong dream of creating a space for people to fellowship and build community through arts and literature. They want to thank the Democratic Party for all the work we do to build coalitions of people from all walks of life and for supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. You can find out more about their bookstore at www.charmcitybooks.com. Formerly residents of Alexandria, last year these newlyweds took a big chance and fulfilled their dream of opening an indie bookstore in the neighborhood of Baltimore called Pigtown. Every Saturday morning, Davin and Joe host a story time and sing-along for the children in the neighborhood. Charm City Books also has a YouTube channel where anyone can watch episodes of Once Upon a Storytime at Charm City Books with Miss Davin and Whiskers the cat. The story you are going to hear is about how we are all different, but when we all come together and share our different strengths, we can accomplish great things. So gather your little ones around the screen, turn the volume up, and get ready for a fun story and sing-along with Miss Davin and her good friend Whiskers.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Charm City Books for another episode of Once Upon a Storytime. I hope that you all have been having a great week. Who could that be but our favorite friend, Whiskers?
Hey, Miss Davin, nice to see you.
Oh, it's good to see you too. How are you? What's put you in such a good mood?
Well, I've just been outside on this beautiful day saying hello to all of my neighbors.
Oh, that sounds so fun.
Yeah, I was talking to the mailman and Miss Nancy and Mr. Robert and the barber shop, and also I went down to culinary architecture, and I went down to the tattoo shop, and then I went down to official hot mess, and then I was also talking to the people at Miss Kim at Breaking Bread, and I was just saying hi to everybody.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so nice.
It was.
Well, you know, I have this great story that's just about that, about saying hello to and getting together with all your neighbors and friends.
Wait a minute, is it story time?
Yes, it is.
All right. Hey.
All right, are you ready to get started then, Whiskers?
Miss Davin, I am always ready for story time.
Okay then. So, our story today is called All Are Welcome by Alexandra Penfold and Suzanne Kaufman.
Oh, wow, sounds like a great one.
Oh, it is truly one of my favorite stories of all time.
Are you all ready for story time?
Hooray! All right, let's get started.
Oh.
All are welcome.
It's true. Everybody's welcome here.
Pencils sharpened in their case. Bells are ringing. Let's make haste.
Ring-a-ding-ding, ring-a-ding-ding.
School's beginning. Dreams to chase. All are welcome here.
I love to chase dreams. Come here, you dream. Try to catch your dream. Yow!
Ooh! No matter how you start your day, what you wear when you play, or if you come from far away, all are welcome here.
Oh, that's so nice.
That is very, very nice.
I love it when people come from all over to come together.
Me too.
Yeah.
In our classroom, safe and sound, fears are lost and hope is found. Raise your hand, we'll go around. All are welcome here.
Ooh, pick me.
Oh, yep, you, Whiskers.
Wait, what was the question? Oh, all are welcome here. That's the answer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Gather now, let's all take part. We'll play music, we'll make art. I love making art, don't you, Whiskers?
Yeah, me too. Do you like making art at home?
What kind of art do you make?
Oh.
Whoa.
I bet I'll see that in a museum.
I think so.
Yeah.
You know what I like to make?
What?
Pottery.
Oh, nice.
We'll share stories from the heart. All are welcome here.
Oh.
Do you have a favorite story that you enjoy?
Yeah, my favorite story is the first time I ever found Charm City books and you were reading a story.
Ah, it's a story about a story.
Yeah, you can find it on our YouTube for Charm City Books.
It's true. Time for lunch. What a spread.
Oh.
A dozen different kinds of bread. Pass it around till everyone's fed. All are welcome here.
I love bread.
Me too.
I love mozzarella bread, and garlic bread, and raisin bread, and cinnamon buns. Oh, me too, Miss Devin, me too.
What's your favorite kind of bread?
Oh, ooh, wow. Put some jam on that.
Yeah, I'll have to try that.
Yeah.
Open doors, rush outside. We will swing, we will slide. We'll have fun side by side. All are welcome here.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to do on a playground?
Probably to slide. But I also like to climb.
Oh my gosh, my favorite thing is maybe going on the swing set.
Oh, wow.
I wonder what this game is with the squares and the ball bouncing.
It's called Foursquare.
Oh, and what about this one with the ball on a string in the end?
Oh, that's called Knock the Ball on the String Around and Around and Around. Yeah.
That sounds like would be one of my favorite games.
Yeah, I'd probably dominate you in that game because
That's
I'm an
true.
expert at swatting balls of string.
That's true. We're part of a community. Our strength is our diversity. A shelter from adversity. All are welcome here.
Miss Devin,
Yeah?
what does adversity mean?
Adversity means challenges or difficulties that you usually have to overcome.
And what about diversity?
Diversity are all of our differences. So we each have different experiences and perspectives and skills. And when we bring them together, we can do anything.
That's awesome!
Isn't that really cool?
Yeah!
We will learn from each other. Special talents will uncover. There's a big world to discover. Whiskers, do you have any special talents?
I'm glad you asked. Yes, I do. I am an expert button collector.
Oh, wow. Well, what kind of buttons do you collect?
Well, I collect brass buttons, and I collect buttons that you press on people to make them have different kinds of reactions.
That sounds really interesting.
Yes.
We'll have to talk more about it.
Oh, please.
All are welcome here. Oh, wow, what a scene!
Come along!
So much to learn, so much to do. And when the busy day is through, can't wait to come back, start anew. All are welcome here. Do you ever feel that way? Like you can't wait for the next day because you had so much fun this day?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Oh, gosh. Head for home to get some rest and greet tomorrow ready and fresh.
Oh, look at those awesome pajamas.
Oh man, there's clouds. Those look super comfy.
Oh, I want to sleep on a cloud one day.
One day maybe, if we can make it all the way to the clouds. What do your pajamas look like? Do they have any cool, fun stuff on them?
Ooh.
Dragons?
Wow! I once had a game of checkers with a dragon.
Oh.
Yeah.
You played the game of checkers?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
I lost.
Oh,
Dragons are great at checkers.
good to know.
And making pizza.
Ooh, fire. Fire grilled?
Flame roasted in a brick oven.
Our time together is the best.
Yeah.
Is there someone that you love to spend your time with? It's the best?
Yeah. Her name begins with a D and ends with Miss Davin. Oh, that's you!
Oh, Whiskers, I think that you're the best to spend time with.
Oh, can I? I'm gonna give you a hug.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
How sweet. Do you have someone you love to spend time with at home?
Oh. Uh-huh. Oh, that's so great. I hope I can meet them.
Me too. Maybe someday they can come to Charm City Books.
Oh, that would be awesome.
All are welcome here.
It's true.
You have a place here. You have a space here. All are welcome here.
Oh, wow.
Look at this room full of all these different people.
That looks awesome.
Oh my gosh, so many fun things are happening and so much diversity and so many games
Oh,
and
wow.
families.
That's great.
All are welcome here.
That's right.
All are welcome here at Charm City Books.
Yeah.
The end.
Oh, wow, Miss Davin, that was a great story.
Thank you. It is one of my favorites.
Question.
Yeah?
Do you have a song about lots of people coming together and loving one another and celebrating each other?
Oh my gosh, you know, Whiskers, you're right. I have the perfect song to go with this perfect book.
All right.
But you know what I need to grab first?
Your ukulele.
That's right. All right, Whiskers, do you think you can sing along with me?
I definitely can.
Oh, good. And you at home, if you know the song, you can join in.
Come on, everybody.
One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright.
Hear the children singing.
One love, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the world, and we will feel alright.
Say it.
Let's get together and feel alright. Yeah. We are all different. No one is the same. And that makes us stronger together, yeah. Is there a place for all of the people to live together in peace and harmony? One love,
What about one heart?
one heart.
What about
Let's
love?
get together and feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright.
Everybody singing.
Let's get together and feel alright.
Oh, wow, great job, everybody.
Yes,
Such a
I
great
agree.
song. Oh, thank you so much for joining in, singing, and listening to our story and answering our questions and being
I'm
so
here for what it's
engaged
worth.
today.
Yeah, great job, everybody.
Oh, and just remember, everyone is welcome, and all together we make everything better.
Yeah, that's true. When we all get together, everything's more better.
Well, I guess we'll see you next time, won't we?
Yeah, next time it's Once Upon a Story Time at Charm City Books.
Have a great day, everyone.
One love, one heart. Drum solo. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks to Joe and Davin for that story. We are so grateful for the many professional artists who have given their talents to us today. If you can think of a friend or grandchild who might enjoy that performance, be sure to send them the link to our event on Facebook or YouTube so they can go back and watch it. And of course, we'd appreciate your support as thanks. Our next guest has received some notoriety for wearing a mask and gloves as he presided over the U.S. House of Representatives. But although it might not quite be as stylish as his, you can buy a Democratic mask like the one I'm wearing right now by going to fairfaxdems.org/give or calling us at 703-573-6811. Congressman Don Beyer is serving his third term representing the 8th Congressional District, which includes Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and of course, parts of Fairfax County. He was the lieutenant governor from 1990 to 1998 and was ambassador to Switzerland and Liechtenstein under President Obama. He has spent 4 decades building his family business in Northern Virginia. In the House, he serves on the Ways and Means in Science, Space, and Technology committees, and is a co-chair of the New Democrat Coalition's Climate Change Task Force. Congressman Beyer, thank you so much for joining us.
Brian, thank you. It's wonderful to be here. And I'm just so excited to be part of something that the Fairfax County Democratic Committee is doing. I have enormous affection for FCDC. I joined it in January 1982, and I spent much of the 80s as the vice chair for finance. In fact, everything I knew about raising money, I learned on FCDC. And I know it's still really important.
Well, considering kind of your history and turning into a bundler for Obama and everything, and I think that's amazing. Because I was going to ask you to share some of your history for FCDC and how has it helped you too as a candidate?
Well, first of all, it's nice to get used to winning. You figure it was Fairfax that elected Chuck Robb, Jerry Beliles, Mary Sue Terry, Doug Wilder, Mark Warner, Tim Kaine, Terry McAuliffe, and now Ralph Northam, and a lot of good people in between. When you look at the statewide results, you always hold your breath until Fairfax comes in, and that's when we win the races. Yeah,
we deliver. If you go back and look, we deliver the margin for the state. If you go back and look at those numbers, including
Brian, Barack Obama, 2008, 2012.
Yeah,
the only president in your lifetime, Democratic president, to win Virginia and win the country.
Yeah. Switching a little bit, I mean, we appreciate your support for FCDC, but let's switch a little bit to kind of some of your business as a congressperson. COVID, of course, is an important issue, but I know you are very passionate about the environment. How are those threats different, and what must we do to combat climate change?
Well, and Brian, they're linked, because we've seen 4 or 5 of the worst viral threats of the last couple hundred years emerge in the last 10 years. And it's driven a lot by climate change and by how dense the world is getting as we approach 8 billion people. We passed a new infrastructure bill last week, the largest infrastructure bill in America's history, H.R. 2, moving America forward. And a big piece of that was making environmental changes, including permanent tax breaks for solar, wind, geothermal, lots of the renewable energy emissions. We have a wonderful, huge climate change package, which is not going to pass Mitch McConnell or Donald Trump, which is why we have to elect Joe Biden and change the Senate.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask a little bit. I mean, there's all kinds of things that are stuck in the Senate. What are the chances that we get any of this, or is it just November that is the thing that's going to get us that change?
Brian, the thing we're most likely to get is some middle ground on our HEROES Act. In 22 days, like 30 million people are going to lose their unemployment insurance. And all those pandemic unemployment folks, the gig workers, the subcontractors, they're all going to lose their stuff. So, and we have our state and local governments are $550 billion short this year. So we've got to make up that. But the structural changes, fixing the Voting Rights Act, fixing DACA, banning getting universal background checks, that kind of stuff's going to have to wait for a different president and getting rid of Mitch McConnell.
Right. Well, I don't think I have any more questions for you. I know I don't have a lot of your time today. So thank you so much for your work, for your support. And now we'll send it back to Sarah for our next performance.
Thank you, Brian, very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Sally Livingston studied piano, composition, and ear training with Mademoiselle Nadia Boulanger in Paris. She earned a Bachelor of Music degree from Manhattan School of Music and was awarded a master's degree from Queens College in the City University of New York. Ms. Livingston has performed frequently in the New York area in such diverse venues as Alice Tully Hall and in television commercials. She has been on staff as a collaborative pianist at the College of New Jersey, Rowan University, Delaware University, the University of Maryland, and Northern Virginia Community College. She performs in and around Washington, D.C. with the Southern D.C. Trio and other chamber music ensembles. Sally will enthrall us with her soulful playing of a piano piece by South America's most famous composer. This piece is considered number 5 of 14 compositions, collectively called chorus.
Hi everyone, my name is Sally Livingston. I'm a pianist and I will perform for the big effort a work by Brazilian composer Heitor Villa-Lobos, who wrote many wonderful pieces about the life and culture of Brazil. The name of this piece is Alma Brasileira. Thank you.
Oh, I was muted. Thanks, Allie. If you're enjoying the show, please consider making a contribution at fairfaxdems.org/give or by calling us at 703-573-6811. And I hope you'll enjoy our esteemed guest joining us next. But I'll leave the honor of introducing that guest to fellow Providence District and FCDC member Brandon Thurner. Take it away, Brandon.
Hello, my name is Brandon Thurner. Thank you there, Brian. As Brian mentioned, I'm a member of the Providence District Democrat Committee. Oh, keep going. Yep. Okay. Yep. My name is Brandon Thurner, as Brian mentioned, and I'm a member of the Providence District Democratic Committee, currently serving as the inaugural vice chair for statewide support. And I'm here to introduce our next guest, the esteemed Dr. Etzioni. He is a former advisor to the Carter White House, senior advisor, a GW professor and head of its Institute for Communitarian Policy Studies. And he's regarded as one of America's 100 top living intellectuals based on the number of citations of his works. And he's the author of nearly 30 different books.
Thank you.
And today our chat is going to be about the recent book that he released last year called Reclaiming Patriotism. And I just wanted to take the time to thank Dr. Etzioni for being here today and for joining us in the Providence District last year a couple times as well. Thank you for being here, Dr. Amitai Etzioni.
I'm delighted to be back with you.
That's great. And for the audience here, we're going to dialogue for several minutes. I'm going to ask Dr. Etzioni a few questions, and then we're going to take a few questions from the audience itself. So we'll take it away here, Dr. Etzioni. First off, you've been very active in the field of sociology, communitarian policy, and through academia and through the Carter White House. And I just wanted to start off by asking, why did you choose to form the patriotic movement and write the book Reclaiming Patriotism? And more specifically, what are ways Americans of different political stripes, including those in the same political party, can work toward a shared vision while containing but not repressing different views?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. By the way, the book Reclaiming Patriotism, I gave up the royalties and made it open source so anybody can download it without any charge. When I wrote the book 2 years ago, I was concerned about increasing tribalism, about people who are already separated because of many other divisions like race and economic divisions, classes, also became politically tribalized. And so we showed studies that Democrats didn't want their son and daughters to marry Republicans. Republicans didn't want their son and daughters to marry Democrats. And not only was there social divisiveness, but in turn it paralyzed the government. So just to give one quick example, both Democrats and Republicans supported and support today a major drive to fix our infrastructure, but we couldn't agree on the terms, which in a normal democracy you would sort out in an afternoon, maybe in a week. So first of all, I was at that time very concerned about tribalism. Since then, it's becoming much worse. And now even things like face masks have become tribalized. So Democrats wear them, and many Republicans don't wear them and attack them as government intrusions. But in effect, a face mask is a way of showing the other human being that you're a decent human being, that you care about the community, you care about your loved one, you care about others. So the reason I called for some unity, from national unity, is this enormous divisiveness, which fosters hatreds and paralyzes our government. Second, I hate to say I told you so, I predicted but Anybody will open chapter 2 of my book will see that I describe something called Black Lives Matters. So what I argued is that students often ask me how to bring about a major social change. And I tell them it's a surprisingly easy question because there's only one answer, I said in the book. And the reason is only when people have a moral dialogue, a nationwide moral dialogue, and then translate it into a social movement, we can get major social change. So what you've seen over the last week is, first of all, a very piercing moral dialogue. And this one does cut across many barriers, not all, but maybe 80% of Americans sometimes, that there's something wrong here needs to be fixed. And that has been then is being translated into social movement, which larger demonstrations than we ever had, some of them worldwide. And most important for me, being translated into changes in policy. And frankly, I don't care thinking about the monuments, and I'm very unhappy about attacking George Washington because it helps Trump. But we have seen changes in Twitter. We have seen change in many other social platforms, not in Facebook yet, but they're going to come next. We have seen corporations change and so on and so on. Police department changing. Not enough, but it tells you how to make a major social change. Any other questions left?
Yeah, go ahead, Brendan.
Good. Yep. Yep. Okay. Yep. And also there to follow up on that presentation there, Dr. Etzioni, that's a great answer there. What are the possible paths forward for the patriotic needs to happen for the patriotic movement to take root and to expand, such as how can interested members of the FCDC become involved with your movement?
The most important thing that has to happen now is coalition building. Historically, if we look at that, major change requires first, as I said, a social movement, then combining forces. So for instance, at the moment, the Latinos are very much feel left out because so much of the discussion is between brown and black and white. It's important, crucial conversation, but we need to bring in the issues of the Latinos. They're concerned with ICE, they're concerned with immigration, their special concerns. We need to worry about not unnecessarily antagonizing people. We don't for a moment be fooled by that 14% lead Biden has. This is of all registered voters. Many of them will be not able to vote. Many of them will fear to vote. By the way, Democrats are 4 times more fearful of the virus in terms of voting than Republicans. So you can be very easily fooled by polls based on voters. Also, Biden is let me put it carefully, a very uneven debater. And once he starts debating Trump, who's very born for television. So we need at least a 6% lead in order to overcome the disadvantage of the Electoral College. So we need as broad a coalition as possible, And I'm very sorry to see that some people on the extreme left, and inadvertently, of course, are helping Trump by raising now in the weeks before elections things which divide us unnecessarily. And I urge you to build as broad a base as possible. You cannot imagine, despite all that happened, what Trump will do once he doesn't have to worry about re-election. And by the way, don't you think the institution will hold? Of course, he turned around the Department of Justice. Now he's turning on the military. He is replacing generals after generals. They appointed 200 judges, something Democrats never succeed doing. So he just decided, in my judgment, to endanger the lives of many thousands of children in order to help his re-election. So this is such a monumental threat. So anybody who in any way splinters off Democrats, divides Democrats against each other, threatens the independent vote, should think about what a second term of Trump would look like. Don't worry about the upside, worry about the downside.
Well, yeah, thank you, Dr. Etsioni, for that. I would like to piggyback onto some of those points that you made. We are living in very polarized times, as you're mentioning, toward the right and the left and everything else. So, I mean, we have everything from nationalism to socialism to communism to populism. Given the polarized times, can you please explain what you mean when you write in your book that there is a good nationalism and that there needs to be a rebuilding of national community? Perhaps these areas relate to the national moral dialogues that you also write about in your book. Can you explain a few of those for the audience members?
Right. So we have good nationalism is love of country. A love of country does not mean for a moment denying our flaws, but not allowing us to be defined by our flaws. So we have to think about how to make a more perfect union. And so what's happening is people are so correctly worried and critical about nationalism, which is full of hate to other nations, that being patriotic, being a nationalist, has got a bad reputation. And let me put it very quickly. In the 60s, the Democrats did something similar to family. They ceded the family to the Republicans, and it was considered not progressive to be pro-family. Since then, we learned to say we are in favor of family if it's an egalitarian family. Something similar happened to patriotism, nationalism. We ceded it to the conservatives, and we lost a major way. Actually, I'm sorry to say, the most powerful way to motivate people is dedication for their country. Millions are willing to die for their country. That's the ultimate test of dedication. Very few people are willing to die for most other causes. So we should not give up nationalism. We just should make it one which is not focused on hating others, but on building a national community, reminding us that we are all members of one family.
Well, thank you for that, Dr. Etsioni, and I can attest, having read your book several weeks ago, it's a fascinating read, and for all those in the audience, it's a relatively quick read. It's only about 230, 240 pages. It's very light on the page count, and for folks who are interested in it, it flies by. And Dr. Etsioni has made it available free of charge. He's not trying to make money on the book. He wants people to join the movement. Please go to the patrioticmovement.org, I think, right? patrioticmovement.org. And look for Etsioni's name and to sign up and to sign the pledge and to help out with these dialogues. And thank you very much for your presentation here today, Dr. Etsioni. You're welcome back to Providence and Fairfax County anytime you wish. And best of luck as you reach out to other Democrats, independents, and Republicans as well in your movement quest there. And thank you so much. And as we wrap up,
I'll leave here and thank you. Be safe and vote.
Definitely. And as we wrap up our segment with Dr. Etsioni, I would like to mention that all the activities and election efforts by FCDC do have a bit of a price tag on them with everything. Feel free to make a small donation if you're willing and able to right now, and as well as to volunteer with FCDC, Providence District, any other magisterial districts, and to go out and vote on or before November of this year. And now I'd like to introduce Sarah Fors again, who hosts our next artistic endeavor for this evening's ceremonies.
Carol Spring is an actor, singer, musician, and puppeteer who has performed with many local theater companies, including Gala Theater, Quotidian Theater, Chesapeake Theater Company, and the Puppet Company. She graduated from the National Conservatory of Dramatic Arts. Amidst the recent Black Lives Matter protests, Carol's song is very timely. The song was written in 1962 and became the unofficial anthem of the civil rights movement. Let's see how many chords it takes you to guess the name of the song. A special shout out to Carol's parents, Jerry and Alice Foltz, who are active with the Sully Democrats in the Centerville area. Thank you, guys.
Hello, my name is Carol Spring. I'm happy to support the Fairfax County Democrats today. I'm going to sing the song Blowin' in the Wind by Bob Dylan, and I would like to dedicate this song to my parents, Jerry and Alice Foltz. How many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man? Yes, and how many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? Yes, and how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head, pretending he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Thank you.
Hey, it's Congresswoman Jennifer Wexton. We're officially in the general election. I'm so happy to be supporting the Fairfax Democrats. I wouldn't be in Congress without your tireless efforts, so I can attest to how important your work is. I want to remind everyone that prior to 2018, Virginia 10 hadn't elected a Democrat in almost 40 years, and I know that we're seeing polls that show Biden up, but we made that mistake last time. We cannot do it again because the future of our democracy truly is at stake in 2020. Fairfax Dems helped flip Virginia blue in 2018. We did it again in 2019, and now it's time to put an exclamation point at the end of that sentence. That's why it's critical that the Fairfax Dems have the resources they need to keep up this great work. Anything you can chip in to help boost turnout in Fairfax will go a long way to keeping Virginia and my district blue. And I want you all to know that these electoral wins have translated directly into meaningful policies. We're already seeing it here in Virginia with the brand new laws that went into effect to prevent gun violence, make voting easier, protect LGBTQ Virginians, and so much more. And in Congress, even with Trump and Mitch McConnell blocking major legislation, we've still been able to secure big wins with our House majority. Last year, we secured, for the first time ever, paid parental leave for all federal workers, something that's been a local priority for years. And during COVID-19 negotiations, it was Democrats who secured enhanced unemployment benefits, paid sick leave, funding for testing and tracing, resources for hospitals and healthcare providers, and I was able to get my Retirement Protection Act signed into law. Winning these elections makes a big difference in the lives of millions of Virginians and Americans, and that's why I need you to support the Fairfax Dems. Please donate today if you're able. Thanks again for all that you're doing, and I look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail. Take care. Stay well.
Thank you to Carol and to Congresswoman Wexton. We do need to put an exclamation point on the end of that sentence to ensure that we keep Virginia and the 10th Congressional District blue as we elect Joe Biden this year. I'm joined now by my good friend, President Obama, because he knows how important a victory is for protecting the gains that we've made under the Affordable Care Act. Help us ensure a blue Virginia victory so that we can make progress that will benefit all Americans. Go to fairfaxdems.org/give or call us at 703-573-6811. And thanks, Obama. And who better to talk about all of that with us than Dr. Judy Fader. Dr. Fader is a professor of public policy at Georgetown University with a bachelor's from Brandeis and a master's and PhD from Harvard. From 1999 to 2008, she built Georgetown's Public Policy Institute into one of the nation's leading public policy schools. She is a nationally recognized leader, also through her service. She was Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for Planning and Evaluation at the Department of Health and Human Services in the first Clinton term. But maybe more importantly, she knocked on my door and left when she was the Democratic nominee for Congress in Virginia's 10th CD back in 2008. I guess paving the way eventually for Jennifer Wexton to win back the 10th. Dr. Fader, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Brian.
What has our recent experience with COVID-19 revealed about the state of U.S. healthcare?
It's painful to experience what we're experiencing and to see all the flaws in the system. First, I think what's been most apparent are the racial inequities in access to care, with people of color more likely to get sick and less likely to have access to care than other Americans. But for all of us, it demonstrates, as if we didn't know it already, how much healthcare matters and how important it is that we have meaningful, affordable insurance that makes sure we have access to good care when we need it and at an affordable price. And too many Americans don't have that, and it's not okay. And Democrats know that, not so much the other side.
Right. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think now more than ever it's demonstrated that healthcare should not be tied to employment, right? When we have huge unemployment and everything else, right?
It's a problem. An awful lot of people lose their coverage when they lose their jobs. That happens, I think, for most of us have coverage through our jobs. That you lose your job, you lose your coverage. Fortunately, because of the Affordable Care Act, and in our state now, and most other states, we have Medicaid too. But it doesn't cover everybody, and it's and not necessarily affordable. The system needs work. There's no question about it.
Right. So I think we had about 140 candidates running for the Democratic presidential primary for the nomination. And of course, they all had kind of different healthcare plans and ideas. How can that come together, and will it?
Well, I think we already see that it's coming together in the unity task force that Biden formed with Sanders to get Democrats on the same page. And the most important thing is to recognize that Democrats care about healthcare and that the public knows that Democrats care about healthcare and that Republicans don't. As I think everybody listening to us knows, there has been an awful lot of discussion, and you were kind of alluding to it when you say coverage tied to employment is a problem. There was an awful lot of discussion in the
Oh no, did we lose her?
protection.
You're back now. We can hear you again.
Well, I said, short story, that Sanders was Medicare for all. Biden was improved the Affordable Care Act. What they both believe and are coming together around is a guarantee from government that we're going to get coverage, a much stronger assertion of government authority, availability of a public plan, better subsidies, control over costs. We hear a lot about prescription drug costs, but it's not just those costs. We need government engagement to keep costs under control. And I do believe we're coming together around that kind of action, which is so sorely needed.
So we just saw the birth control mandate get scrapped by the Supreme Court. What can you say about the Republicans' quest to have I guess the Supreme Court declare everything, the Affordable Care Act, unconstitutional?
The Texas case is still before them. It won't be decided until after the election, and it would make everything unconstitutional. What I see is that they will not give up going after this law, and it demonstrates that they really are not about, they talk about pre-existing condition protections and caring about people's health care, and they expose the lie of that promise as they persist in opposing the Affordable Care Act with no possible replacement. And so it is a travesty, and I'm hopeful. You never know, but Chief Justice Roberts, he surprised us and has stood by the Affordable Care Act with not once but twice, not so much on the mandate, this new contraceptive mandate, but has stood by the law. It makes me believe that because he cares about the court and is concerned about politicizing it, that he won't let it go down the next time. So I'm optimistic that we're moving forward, and they can try to shoot us down, but anything they propose is going to leave millions of Americans, more millions of Americans without coverage. And the American public does not want that, and the Republicans know it.
Well, Dr. Faders, thank you so much for joining us, for your support for this discussion. I mean, I think it shows me, and maybe want to talk about it more, about how important this election is for ensuring that we ensure that we provide more, provide healthcare for all Americans.
For everybody, affordable healthcare for everybody, and we have to win in November to make it so. So let's go, Fairfax Dems. We gotta take this one.
Well, thank you so much for your support. Thanks for joining us. And now I'll throw it to Sarah for our next musical selection. Thanks again.
Maggie Godbold is an engineer who began her career as a musician. She earned a Bachelor of Music in Piano Performance from the Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. She was the organist and choir director for a church, and she taught piano students privately and with the Baldwin Piano Company. While she was busy being an engineer, she didn't play a lot of music. But about 5 years ago, in her retirement, she started taking viola lessons, and a little over 2 years ago, she switched to violin. About the piece she'll be performing. While the recent movie version of Cats has probably spoiled this song for everyone, it's still a beautiful song, and it was a mega hit when Cats first opened in the 80s. Maggie and her husband were lucky enough to see Cats on Broadway in second-row seats with his parents. Her mom-in-law absolutely loved the song and would play it over and over. She's been dead for over 25 years, and Maggie still misses her. This song is for her.
Thanks, Maggie, for your leadership in FCDC and for your support today. We are so fortunate to have the leaders in Fairfax County that we have who believe in science and who believe in our best interests in keeping us safe during a pandemic. And of course, there's a huge gulf at the federal level that we can fix this year. You've probably heard about the attacks of the Trump administration on our own schools, per usual, ignoring the facts. But if you want to help make sure that we bring common sense leadership to the federal level, we will need your support. We are about just over $1,000 away from our goal for today, but we need your support right now to help that we can ensure a big win in November. Go to fairfaxdems.org/give or call us at 703-573-6811. Your support is really going to be important this year as we make sure that every vote counts when we have over 400,000 absentee ballots expected. We're going to have to do everything we can do to educate the populace of Fairfax County, the voters of Fairfax County, through text messages, digital outreach, and mailings. And all of that costs money. We need your support now. We're getting close to our goal. So please, if you can, go to our website now and make a contribution. Before we get back into performances, we will have two messages from some of our great county leaders.
Hi everyone, this is Fairfax County Commonwealth's Attorney Steve Descano. I'm here to tell you just how incredibly important the work that you all do is to our community. The Fairfax County Democratic Committee has the best infrastructure, the most motivated members, and the strongest volunteers of any Democratic committee in all of Virginia. In many ways, we are the state's crown jewel when it comes to Democratic committees. And because of that, every time the bell rings, you answer it and you come up huge. And we need you to come up huge again this year, because it's incredibly important that we return Jerry Connolly, Jennifer Wexton, and Don Beyer to Congress. It's just as important that we return Mark Warner to the Senate. And it's really important that we get that madman that's in the White House out of there and we bring sanity and real leadership back to the Oval Office. That's why I'm asking you to continue to work and work hard. Put your blood, sweat, and tears into this organization, because if we work hard together like we always do, we will continue to drive the change in Virginia and nationally that I think everybody on this call really wants to see. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you around the bend. Stay safe.
Fairfax County Democrats. I'm Jeff McKay, Chairman of the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, and it is great to be with you, albeit virtually. I look forward to a time when we can all be together physically again, celebrating our great Democratic victories and success in Fairfax County when it is safe to do that. I want to first start by thanking FCDC for their tireless advocacy on behalf of Democrats and making sure that our residents understand the critical importance of elections, from our local elections all the way through to who we elect president. Your work at the grassroots in our precincts, working in our neighborhoods, making calls, going door to door, advocating is critical not only to electing Democrats, but frankly critical to our democracy. And our democracy is what is at stake this November. We must elect Joe Biden, President of the United States, and turn our country around. If we want a nation that looks more like Fairfax County, that's more interested in progress, that's more interested in racial justice, that's more interested in breaking down disparities that exist in our community, and is not afraid to invest in our people and recognize that everyone is welcome in this country, and it is our responsibility to give everybody the tools necessary to be successful, we must send a strong message this November that those values are what are at stake in this presidential election this year. I want to thank you for all of your tireless advocacy, for your work. We should all be very proud to live in a county that is strongly blue, that is represented by great Democrats at the local, state level, and it is now time to make sure we elect a great Democrat as President of the United States. These times are tough for all of us. And if we've learned anything from this pandemic, we certainly have learned the importance of elections and the importance in putting people into office who have the people's interests at mind and not their own self-serving interests. This is a critical juncture in the future of our country, and it is time for Fairfax County to do what we always do great, which is get Fairfax County Democratic Committee fired up, get our people fired up, knock on those doors, make the calls, do the local advocacy so that our neighbors turn out this November and turn our country around. Thank you all very much for all of your work on behalf of Democrats throughout Fairfax County. We have much to be proud of, but much work to do to correct matters this November. Thank you.
Steve Rosenthal has been working in theaters in the DC area for over 30 years. He's a retired economist who previously worked at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Companies he's worked with include the Little Theater of Alexandria and most recently the Vienna Theater Company. A comedic actor and a longtime Arlington resident, Steve will share a scene with us from the play he performed earlier this year with the Vienna Theater Company.
Hi, I'm Steve Rosenthal. I come from a long line of Democrats, so I'm very happy to be part of this fundraiser. Now, I'm going to do a piece from Leading Ladies by Ken Ludwig. The setup is kind of complicated, so I'm going to read it. 1. I'm a Pennsylvania doctor in 1952. 2. I get handed a letter that's meant for the local clergyman. It's a love letter that's meant to get him in trouble with his fiancée. 3. There are 2 men who everybody thinks are women. They are dressed in drag to claim an inheritance that's not rightly theirs. 4. One of the men is in love with the clergyman's fiancée, so that's why he writes this fake love letter, supposedly from his friend, the other guy in drag, to the clergyman. And remember, I'm the doctor. 5. Hilarious complications ensue. Okay, so here goes. From Stephanie. That's odd. My dear friend, you are a healer of souls. You are a man of compassion to those in your care. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. As the song says, I adore you. What? As you know, I am now an heiress, but please don't let my millions stand in your way. I never felt religious until I met you, but now I want to sit on your pulpit. Whoa! May you enter my house and dwell there forever. The woman is an animal, a very large animal. Take me, ravish me, meet me tonight in the living room at 8 o'clock. Ooh, that's in 10 minutes. Your loving and devoted Stephanie. God in heaven, she was just playing hard to get. I should have known that first time we met. She just looked at me and never said a word. Of course, she was deaf and dumb at the time, but still, she had those bedroom eyes. Droopy, sensuous, astigmatic. I shall return! Biden 2020. Thank you.
Kathy Kessler-Price, a soprano, holds a PhD from the University of Kansas in voice pedagogy, a master's degree in voice performance from the University of Maryland, and a bachelor's degree from the University of Richmond. A native Virginian from Richmond, she has sung in such distinguished venues as the Kennedy Center, the White House, Carnegie Hall, the National Museum of Women in the Arts, and Universal Studios. She loves teaching her students in voice and voice pedagogy at Westminster Choir College, where she received the Distinguished Teacher of the Year Award for 2018 and 19. What did the movies A Room with a View, Grand Theft Auto, Prizzi's Honor, and the recently released Disney film Artemis Fowl have in common? They all feature this famous Puccini aria, which Kathy will sing in the original Italian language.
Hello, I'm Kathy Kessler-Price, operatic soprano and native Virginian, long-term resident of Fairfax County, though I currently live in New Jersey and teach at Westminster Choir College. I want to thank the Fairfax County Democratic Committee for inviting me to be a part of this fundraising effort today, and I hope this beautiful little aria that I'm going to sing for you will make you an enthusiastic contributor. I will sing O mio babbino caro from Gianni Schicchi by Puccini. And this song is sung by a 16-year-old girl, Lauretta, who is trying to convince her dear daddy, babbino caro, that she needs permission from him to go with her beloved. And if she doesn't get it, as most 16-year-olds might say, she's just going to go throw herself in the Arno River. So here's O mio babbino caro.
O mio babbino caro, mi piace bello, fondare in porta rossa, a comperare l'agnello. Sì, sì, ci voglio andare, e se la mai sarà intorno, andrei sul ponte vecchio, ma per buttarmi l'anno mi struggo e mi tormento.
Maggie Godbold is an engineer who began her career as a musician. She earned a Bachelor of Music in Piano Performance from the Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. She was the organist and choir director for a church, and she taught piano students privately and with the Baldwin Piano Company. While she was busy being an engineer, she didn't play a lot of music, but about 5 years ago, in her retirement, she started taking viola lessons. And a little over 2 years ago, she switched to violin. About the piece she'll be performing. Bach wrote lots of music, but his dances are most accessible to listeners. Minuet 1 is in G major and is immediately followed by Minuet 2 in G minor. As is traditional, Minuet 1 is replayed at the end without repeats.
As we near the end of artistic performances, I once again want to thank all of them for offering their supports or their talents and supports. Locally, we are not deprived of passion or desire to make improvements to the lives of our residents and to make progress in important issues like the Black Lives Matter movement. The benefit of our efforts this year will go beyond, the benefit of our efforts goes beyond what we will achieve this year, but we'll continue with improved organization that we will build upon for next year and for years to come. But I'm being told now that we are about $650 away from our goal. So again, I ask for your support, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this on replay. I would ask that if you can, go to fairfaxdems.org/give or call us at 703-573-6811. Your support will help us build on the organization so that Fairfax gets bluer and bluer. And next, I'll send it back to Sarah for an introduction of the next or the last two performances, including one by an FCDC celebrity.
Carrie Ginsburg is a two-time Helen Hayes Award-winning actor. She's recently performed with Prologue Theater, Keegan Theater, Constellation Theater, and First Stage. Check out her website for upcoming projects and productions at www.carrieginsburg.com. That's spelled KARIGINSBURG.com. Carrie will be singing a song from the TV drama Smash, which is being transformed even as we speak into a new Broadway musical to be called Bombshell. Smash, which ran on NBC for 2 years, was about the making of a musical about Marilyn Monroe. Let's watch Carrie channel the blonde bombshell herself.
Bright with clover, I saw the finish sign. I started as a rover and then victory was mine. I thought the race was over, but they just keep moving the line. They cheered at my persistence, but prayed for my decline. The path of least resistance led to Hollywood and Vine. I tried to go the distance, but they just keep moving the line. I jumped all of the hurdles to break out of the pack. I started on the outside and then hit the inside track. I left the other fillies back at the starting gate. Was ready on my mark. I got too set to hurry up and wait. So talent and ambition won me a chance to shine. I aced the big audition, but it's raining on cloud 9. Can't beat the competition, 'cause they just keep moving the line. I handled every corner, each bump along the track. And when I saw the ribbon, well, there was no turning back. I won the photo finish, but posed for all the men. But before I got my trophy, well, the race began again. So I made friends with rejection, who straightened up my spine. I'll change each imperfection till it's time to drink the wine. I'll toast to resurrection, but they just keep moving the line. Please give me some direction, 'cause they just
Jake Sizemore, a rising senior at Lake Braddock Secondary School, is a multi-instrumentalist who plays and sings as a solo artist and is the guitarist and vocalist of the rock band Trio 111 and the School of Rock Vienna House Band. Jake was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. The doctor who diagnosed him recommended he be placed in an institution. His mother refused. At age 3, Jake started teaching himself to play the keyboard, and at age 8, the guitar. At age 11, he performed for the first time in front of 200 people at the Autism Society of Northern Virginia's Arts for Autism Gala. Since then, he's performed at numerous events, including before thousands of people at the DC Walk Now for Autism on the National Mall. In 2015, he auditioned on Broadway for School of Rock the Musical in front of Andrew Lloyd Webber. Jake has significant challenges communicating, but his perfect pitch, astounding memory for music, and great stage presence have given him a path to a bright future. He's a shining example of why we should look at everyone for what they can do, not what they can't do. Take it away, Jake.
Hey there, how's it going? My name is Jake Sizemore. This is Hallelujah from Jeff Buckley. This is for Fairfax County Democrats.
Well, I heard there was a secret chord David played it to please the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? Well, it goes like this: the fourth, fifth, the minor fall, and the major lift, the baffled king composes hallelujah. Faith was strong, but she needed proof. Saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty and the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you through her kitchen chair, she broke your throne and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew a hallelujah. Baby, I've been here before. Seen this room and I walked this plane out. I used to live alone before I knew you. And I seen your flag on the marble arch. No, it's not a victory march. It's a code, it's a broken hallelujah. Time when you let me know
Maybe there's a God above. All I ever loved from love was how to shoot somebody who outdrew you. It's not cry that you hear at night. It's not somebody who's seen the light. It's cold, it's a broken hallelujah. 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 Go Fairfax Democrats!
This concludes the artistic portion of tonight's show. A special thanks to all our performers, everyone behind the scenes, and everyone who was inspired to volunteer or make a donation. A personal shout out to Cindy and John Pizzo for help with production, and to Sonora Avery and Ray Marin for being inspirations and guiding stars to so many of us in FCDC. I hope you've all enjoyed these performances as much as we've enjoyed bringing them to you.
Oh, thanks so much to Jake for his performance. Our final live guest really needs no introduction. He is serving his 6th term in Congress, representing the 11th Congressional District, which includes Prince William County and the city of Fairfax, but of course, Fairfax County. He served 14 years on the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, including 5 as chairman. He has played a key role in securing federal dollars for transportation improvements in Northern Virginia. He is a senior member of the House Committee on Oversight and Reform, chairs its subcommittee on government operations, and also serves on the House Committee on Foreign Affairs. Congressman Connolly, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Brian.
Let's just start, I guess. We know how important voting by mail is going to be here, absentee. We've seen all the attacks on the Postal Service. I know you had your own experience in your election 2 weeks ago. What would you like to see happen with postal reform that seems desperately needed?
Well, the most immediate thing, Brian, that has to happen to continue uninterrupted Postal Service is an immediate infusion of capital and an extension of credit, which we did in the HEROES Act. And then there'd be $25 billion of revenue stabilization and a $10 billion line of credit unfettered by the Treasury Department. And then in the infrastructure bill we just passed, there's another $25 billion for infrastructure, because the Postal Service has probably the largest single vehicle fleet in America. And the average age is 25 to 36 years. Imagine that. Imagine having a car that's 36 years old. Imagine the maintenance and how inefficient it is in terms of gas guzzling, how often it breaks down and all that. So replacing the largest vehicular fleet in America is going to require several billions of dollars of infrastructure investment, which they don't have. And the Postal Service, was adjusting to real changes in the marketplace. First-class mail has collapsed in America, but packages have been growing. In addition, Congress kind of put a burden on the Postal Service, requiring them to fund 100% of all of their retiree health benefits. No other company or entity on the planet is required to do that. And that adds about $6 billion a year to the debt posture. So to keep mail flowing, and the brave 630,000 men and women who show up every day to make sure our mail is not disrupted. In the midst of this chaos, the one constant in our lives is the mail gets delivered every day, on time, by the same person. And Americans want to make sure that continues. Overwhelmingly, Americans support what I just described in terms of relief for the Postal Service to keep it going. If we can give $50 billion to the airline industry, which does not have a universal service mandate and had record profits before the pandemic, we can certainly bail out the one service required in the Constitution of the United States, Postal Service.
So you talked about it. I'm going to go to this next just because you talked about it a little bit in your answer. What are the chances that we'll get more COVID funding and another stimulus bill through the Senate?
I believe that given the magnitude of the contagion right now, which is actually bigger than the height of April, which was the worst month until now, the Republican Senate will have to act on a fifth package. We just saw today another 1.3 million Americans filed for unemployment. There are 18 or 19 million Americans who have stayed on unemployment, have not been called back to work. GDP, gross domestic product, is going to shrink by a historic level. Businesses are going bankrupt. Restaurants, small law firms, small retail outfits are going under because they just can't withstand the effects of this pandemic. Even when we reopen, if customers aren't feeling safe about coming to your place of business, you are not going to stay in business. So I believe and I mentioned postal, state and local governments are hemorrhaging revenue. If we don't do something about that, they're going to have a big round of layoffs, and they're the largest single employer in America. 13% of all Americans work for state or local government. Kind of a little known fact, but they have a profound impact on our economy in terms of employment, in terms of the services they provide to our people, and on the bond market. So state and local governments cannot be allowed to go under the way Mitch McConnell said they should. Legally, they're not even allowed to file for bankruptcy. They have to keep on going. But if we don't provide some relief, they're going to have to keep on going at a much reduced rate, which will have a direct impact on everything we care about in our communities, right? I mean, healthcare, mental health, drug rehabilitation, police and fire, teachers, clean water, sanitation services, and the like. All of those are functions of local government.
Right. So obviously, COVID is enacting a lot of change. We also have the big change of the movement of the Black Lives Matter movement. You just referenced police as a local service. What can you tell us about the police reform, police reform and the Justice and Policing Act, which the House just passed?
So I was very pleased to be an original co-sponsor of the Justice and Policing Act. It was largely written by the Congressional Black Caucus, and it bans certain practices. So it would make all across America chokeholds illegal. It would make a no warrant knocking, on drug cases illegal. It would require a database to be created of all police brutality incidents across the United States, and it would also create a database on complaints filed against police, so that if a police officer, such as the one in Ferguson, Missouri, quits because he's got a bad record or she's got a bad record, and then gets hired by a neighboring police department that has no idea that they had a bad record in the other one. Now we'll have a database to track those people so that hopefully, a police department that's looking to hire somebody will be able to look that up and realize you're not right for us. We're not going to hire you. You're a problem. But we also, so these are some fundamental reforms. We banned most military equipment that's been routinely transferred to police departments. And we require training in terms of de-escalation and community-based policing practices that work. But fundamentally, Brian, what has to happen is pretty structural, and it's not going to happen only by legislation. Police departments have developed as departments. Now, lots of wonderful individuals in police departments who care a lot about their community and the work they do. But as a culture, we've allowed a culture of impunity to develop as opposed to a culture of accountability. And so all too many police officers over time developed this mentality of I'm a warrior going into battle every day, as opposed to, no, I'm a guardian going in to protect my community. And that's a very fundamental shift. We've seen that culture of impunity, right? So what happened in Minneapolis after 4 police officers were fired and charged with murder or accessory to murder? A number of police quit the department in protest that their colleagues were being held accountable. In Buffalo, a number of police actually waited outside the courthouse for the police officer charged with unnecessary force in causing a skull fracture and possibly, at least temporarily, laming, man can't walk from the brain damage. 75-year-old Catholic social justice activist, no radical, but he was just violently thrown to the ground and cracked the skull. And that cop has been arraigned for a crime. And a number of his colleagues, dozens of his colleagues from the police department of Buffalo, came out in front of the courthouse to applaud him, to show support for him. What is it you're applauding? A violent act against an innocent protester, a civilian, a fellow American? In Louisville, a number of cops, when the mayor came to talk to them about accountability, turned their backs on him to show their protest. Too many police unions who see their job as protecting one of their own at any cost. And all of this is a way of deflecting the racism, the structural racism that does exist in law enforcement. Doesn't mean everyone's a racist, but as a culture, that mentality, that paramilitary mentality, has clearly disproportionately affected communities of color in America. All the data shows that. You're many multiples likelier to be arrested if you're black or brown than white. You're many multiples to be found guilty if you're black or brown. You're many multiples to serve time, a long time sometimes, for the same crime if you're black or brown. And by the way, that data is reflected in COVID-19 too. If you're black, you are 3 times likelier to get COVID-19 than a white person. And you are twice as likely to die of it. It's even worse in the Hispanic community. So the inequities that exist have to be addressed. And let's start with law enforcement, because it's been allowed to languish, kind of ignored or shunted aside like, well, that's just one bad actor. No, it's not. It's structural, and it has to be rooted out.
I agree completely. I mean, and I appreciate all those comments. Those are great. I don't know how much time of your time we have, but I do want to finish kind of turning this into talking about November, and we could probably talk forever about the travesties of this administration. But I guess I saw that you joined Representative Cohen's resolution to open an impeachment inquiry into Bill Barr.
Yes.
What can you tell me about that?
I think Bill Barr has turned the Department of Justice into the personal law firm of Donald J. Trump. And that is a huge disservice to the American people. I believe, in fact, it is an impeachable act. I think he has lied. I think he's covered up. I think he's distorted. I think he's done the bidding of Donald Trump in meting out punishment to people doing their jobs. And the last thing in the world on his agenda, seemingly, is the protection of the American people, enforcing the laws that are on the books instead of circumventing them or helping Donald Trump find a way to get around them. And that's what Barr has done consistently. As recently as today, we had testimony from a Republican U.S. attorney he fired or got fired, and how, frankly, Barr's behavior involved lying, making it up, going in public and saying one thing and doing something else quite differently in private, all to further an agenda to get the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York off the legal criminal investigation of Donald Trump's finances and enterprises. So I think Attorney General Barr should be removed from office. And I gladly co-signed the resolution to proceed with his impeachment. Real quickly, because I know you've got one more speaker, I want to say to all of our fellow Democrats, I think we can be proud of the performance of Fairfax County over a number of years now. When I moved to Fairfax County, this was a Republican place. And I'm proud to be one of the architects that built a Democratic majority, that built the organization that finally prevails and dominates elections here in Fairfax County. And that's a wonderful thing to experience and see. And I've been privileged to be part of that. I believe we're going to continue that tradition this November. I believe Donald Trump is about as unpopular as any Republican president in my lifetime here in Northern Virginia. And I believe Northern Virginia and Fairfax in particular are going to vote overwhelmingly for Joe Biden are martyrs. So we need to just make sure we get the vote out. And one of the things we learned in the recent primary you referenced, Brian, is pushing people to vote early and by mail, as overwhelmingly as we can, is a surefire recipe for success. So we really made a very determined effort in my primary campaign to get our supporters to vote early, remember to vote by mail, stay safe and all that. And we won 85% of the 34,000 early votes that were cast. And we need to replicate that statewide for Joe Biden, Mark Warner, and those of us running for the Congress. And we can.
Definitely. Oh, yes. Well, we definitely appreciate your time, all the work that you do, and for your support of FCDC. Thanks again for joining us, Congressman Connolly. And finally,
thank you, Brian.
Oh, yes, thank you. And finally, we have a message from our majority leader in the Senate, Senator Dick Saslaw.
Thank you, guys.
I'm Dick Saslaw, the state senator from the 35th District and the majority leader also of the Virginia State Senate. As you know, we have a major election coming up in November, just about 17 weeks, 16, 17 weeks from now. I don't have to tell you how important it is to get Vice President Biden into the White House and to get this character out. The damage that's been done in this country and abroad by this guy is incalculable, and we need to end it. And we'll all have that opportunity in November. In addition to that, we have 3 fabulous members of Congress that represent parts of Fairfax County. Cherry Connolly, Don Beyer, and Jennifer Wexton. They are outstanding. They've got great reputations. We need to do everything we can to make sure that they are sent back to the House of Representatives. Just as big, maybe even bigger, just as big, is that we get control of the United States Senate. As you know, Senator Warner is up for re-election this year. He's done an outstanding job. He's got a fabulous reputation, and we need to make sure, we need to do everything we can to make sure that he is returned to the United States Senate in 2021. And if any of you all are able to do all this and have time left over, I can tell you both Abigail Spanberger and Loria down in Elaine Loria down in Virginia Beach area. They've done fabulous jobs as new freshman members of Congress. We need to do everything we can to get them back there. It's been a pleasure talking to you all today, and I look forward to seeing you all along the campaign trail. Stay well and stay healthy. Bye.
Thanks to Senator Saslaw for his support and for his leadership. From the bottom of my heart, thank you to everyone, from our artists and experts to our donors and volunteers. I especially would like to thank Mary Yee for getting many of our artists to volunteer and record their videos, Ray Marin and Tina Barczyk for coordinating the event, Sarah Fors for the performance introductions, Kelsey Woody for video editing, Nadia Golding for handling your phone calls, and Jack Crawley, our executive director. Thank you all for your support in making this happen today. And thanks to everyone who donated kind of recently. We're still not quite to our goal, but we're almost there. And everyone's support really has made kind of will make a lasting difference in this important election. The Fairfax Democrats work year after year. We are after the organization of the campaigns leave us, to build the organization that has led to a deep blue Fairfax County. We face unique challenges this year to make sure that we still get out the vote and to make sure that every vote counts. Please consider making a recurring donation if you can, but truly any amount will help us be successful as we remove Donald Trump from the White House. In any case, we would love for you to volunteer if you can't contribute. Visit our website, fairfaxdemocrats.org or fairfaxdemocrats.org/volunteer for more information. Don't forget to vote absentee. We had, due to our progress in the General Assembly, an excuse is no longer needed. So either by mail or in person, vote early and get your family, friends, and neighbors to do so too. And lastly, I will ask for your support again. Whether you're watching this live or in replay, we would appreciate your support in winning this election in November. Thank you and good night.